Oh, okay. Good evening, folks. The regular scheduled meeting. First of all, our video recording disclaimer. This disclaimer is to inform all participants that this meeting conducted in person and via Zoom will be recorded for record keeping purposes. Participating in the meeting consent that the recording may contain first, your video stream, including images of yourself. Second, an audio stream. This includes any opinions you contribute. Anyone attending the recorded meeting may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not. By staying in the meeting, you consent to being recorded. By consenting and attending the meetings virtually or in person, participants also agree to recordings being posted to YouTube or other distribution services. I'd like to acknowledge First Peoples and traditional territory. Armour Township is situated in the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe. Armour Township recognizes the historical and contemporary contributions of the local First Nations and the peoples of Turtle Island. First up, we have two sets of minutes. First, Township of Armour approved the minutes of the Tri-Council meeting held on February 23rd, 2026. I'm going to move her Dorothy. Sure. And Jerry. Any errors, omissions, corrections? All those in favor? Carried. And then we have Township of Armour approved the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 24th, 2026 as circulated. Sure. Got Rod and Dorothy. Any errors, omissions, edits on that one? Okay, all those in favor? Yeah, carried. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof based on tonight's agenda? We do have accounts for pay tonight too. None noted. Okay, so we are off to the races with three delegations tonight. We have Amy, Dave, and Danica on board. So Amy, you drew the short straw, so you get to go first. Item 4.
I am actually just here to have a resolution passed for appointment to the Waste Committee.
Okay. So nothing else to report, Amy?
Not at this time, other than the impending weather that may be coming in.
Okay. Yeah, no word on tomorrow's meeting yet then, eh?
Well, I'd like to see what happens overnight, and I'd reach out first thing in the morning.
Okay, that's good.
Could you go a little lower, little on the volume? Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. So based on the discussions we had at the Tri-Council meeting, he is looking for some volunteer from each of the municipalities, or at least a couple of volunteers to help out with the Tri-R Landfill Advisory Waste Committee. So I think we had some discussions. And we have a resolution.
Sure.
Okay. That's why I was looking heavily over this.
Already picked it.
While you were out of the room, we picked.
Voluntold.
The Council Township of Armour appoints Rod Blakelock.
Is that who you wanted, Amy? Touch your nose twice if you don't want him.
Can you see my nose? No, actually, I'm quite happy to hear. I'm quite happy to hear Councillor Blakelock stepping forward.
Okay, so we've got a resolution. The Council Township of Armour appoints Rod Blakelock as the municipal representative on the Tri-R Landfill and Recycling Advisory Waste Committee. I get a mover.
Sure.
Wendy.
Sure.
Jerry. Do we want a recorded vote on this one? All those in favor? And that's carried.
I think I heard Millie object in the background.
Sorry.
Rod's been waiting his whole life to hang out at the landfill.
Okay. It'll be reflected in your next pay. Okay, thanks, Rod. That's great. Amy, since you're here, is there anything else you wanted to cover off?
I don't believe so at this time, unless there's something specific you were looking for.
Any questions for that? Well, we got Amy in the room. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Amy. You're welcome to stay as usual or head out and fight the freezing rain.
Thank you.
Item 5, we have Dave Creaser, roads update report and the calcium tender award. We've got a resolution for that one as well. So David, over to you.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mayor. We have not a lot to go over really besides the calcium tender. Our load restrictions are in place. They were put in place yesterday, and we're expected to see them in place until mid-May. The roads department, all the equipment's in good working order, and we're well prepared for the freezing rain that's coming ahead. Looks like we might be getting more snow next week as well. We've been working at frozen culverts and thawing those different areas, but everything seems to be not too bad so far. The big thing is the calcium tender. I understand that there's quite a few drivers that are putting pressure on the prices. I know a lot of municipalities were talking about it, and sure enough, they came back up 12% over last year, 12.69%. So that's quite a jump. And this tender was released before the global events that have been driving the cost of oil up. So there was no mention for a fuel price index, which we did see years gone by when fuel prices were going up and down. So right now, if we get it on the ground soon enough, hopefully there's no effect to the price on this. But the other township that joined in with us on this tender was Strong. Strong was the only other one. There's many other municipalities that stated they wanted to join us, but they just never got back to me with quantities. So it's just us and them, and Pollard is the low tender. They've delivered calcium for us for many years. I think they've done it last at least dozen years.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Not about that, just, I noticed on the road, I'd say 3/4 of the way up the Crooked Hill, there's some big boulders surfacing there. They're the size of a bowling ball or a basketball. I think there's 2 of them. I'm sure Dave will be pointing them out on the grader.
I did notice them. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. Saying the same thing. I bet they will have an interesting time. We're going to try and get out there with something to pluck them out as soon as we can. I don't know how soon we'll get out there with the frost coming out, but at some point before the grader gets there, we'd like to pluck them out.
There's and right across opposite I think right opposite my driveway, I noticed the last summer, there's a stump coming up on the other side of the road. I'd never seen it before, but last year I noticed when they did grade it, it makes a big jump.
They just planted it.
I
Yeah,
think it surfaced when the washout was there.
Well, that's definitely something I'll have to look at. Okay, thank you very much.
Wendy?
Dave, on North Picker Lake Road, east of Eli, you've got a couple spots that probably the water's maybe out 15-20% onto the one side of the road there on the swamp side. Just, I'm sure you're keeping an eye on that. It tends to be a problem every spring, but depending on how much rain, freezing rain we get, it's creeped out quite a bit today, I noticed. So.
Thank you very much. I'll definitely keep an eye on that. We're hoping that the gravel lift will help go after we get the results of the tender. If it's within budget, we hope to get a gravel lift on that, help that area.
Yeah. Thank you.
Other questions for Dave? So we've got the resolution for the calcium chloride and the tables on, well, it'd be page 18 in your deck. Showing the 3 different bids. Staff report from the road supervisor dated March 10th, 2026 regarding roads tender 2026-01 to supply and apply 35% calcium chloride be received. The council award the contract to Pollard Distribution Inc. for a tender price of $70,905 plus HST. Sure. Rod and then Jerry. Other questions for Dave on this one? All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, thanks, Dave. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about while you were here?
Nothing else exciting I have to report. No, thank you very much, and hopefully everyone gets home safe. It looks like the freezing rain is going to start closer to midnight, so hopefully you guys will be done before that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna talk fast.
It's raining right now.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Not much coming across on the weather radar.
I thought we were camping out here tonight. Some reason I came.
Would be good.
Okay, next up in our delegations, we have Danica here in person with the Recreation Coordinator update for March.
So, our big event, yearly event, the carnival, is extremely successful. We've had one more carnival that was that brought in more money, but the carnival itself necessarily wasn't paid for prior to. So I would say this is our best carnival yet. As you can see, with all the donations, carnival itself ran free. We had no real cost to it, and then it generated just over 8,500 for revenue. We switched up a couple things that worked extremely well in our favor, and we weren't there forever and ever on Sunday, so that was really nice. We had talked about, actually Wendy and I chatted at Carnival itself about potentially getting the snowmobile club in to do the food portion of it, like the lunch portion on the Saturday. And I think that would alleviate a lot of our stress on constantly using the same volunteers over and over, and also bring in potentially new people to our event, as they have quite the following as well.
I'll have a conversation with you at some point to get some specifics on.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you prefer to.
So,
And,
which district do you guys run?
the local club here is all May one.
Okay, so Joe Nichols?
Yeah.
Is okay, so I had actually,
Joe was our groomer.
Okay. So he'll be bringing to your meeting. I had reached out, I wasn't sure if you guys were in the same district or not. We had reached out to him as well for our ball hockey.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not out, or sorry, not our ball hockey, our baseball. So we're not out staffing as much and cost food wise per se. So bringing in another local community partner so they can raise some funds there. Something that makes money but isn't worth our while all the time.
Right.
It generates, I think, if you can have a good selection at a lower rate, it's worthy.
Yeah.
Upcoming events, we have our bunny brunch, April 4th. So that's, we've changed the name of that this year. We used to just do kids Easter egg hunt. We had heard the name bunny brunch and we really like that. It's easy, kind of catchy. So we changed the name of that. Exact same thing. You find the golden egg, you have your pancakes. Ball hockey and soccer are out for registration to the public as of today. And registrations are flowing in like crazy as per usual for those. They're always super well attended. We had 3 daycares ask today if they could bring their kids to our morning program. So there's waiting to hear back from parents if they're willing to pay those funds for the daycares to bring them. Day camp, we have our last week. We have 10 spots on average available now for those days. The rest are all we have about 15 to 20 available for those. And then for Heritage Festival, we met with the Historical Society subcommittee for it yesterday and kind of hashed out some details on what they would like, what we would like to see. Tentatively, I've tasked them to go back and figure out budget-wise what they're looking for. But they have a really good idea. They wanted to do like a tour more or less and like a micro festival at their place, having some of the older things like butter churning, lemonade making, sourdough activities
At the Watt Farm?
at the Watt Farm, and also utilizing the Wisen Corner Schoolhouse.
Perfect.
On here in Ryerson. So we chatted with that, and they're going to be attending our Katrine Community Center meetings. So we can all kind of stay in the loop there. Nancy Kite and Peter Hall. And then maybe Barry Burton will be attending those. So update for that. We're looking at potentially August 8th for a date on that.
August 8th for Heritage
For
Day.
Heritage Day. And then we're just waiting for her numbers to come back. I told her by next Monday coming, and then they'll be meeting with us April 6th, I believe is the day.
May I ask why it's not in July when we've had it historically?
So we all discussed heat.
Yes.
Availability of volunteers. For us, that is extremely busy time where ball hockey's ending. So we have year end for that. We have soccer year end. Have our new staff just hired. Day camp just starts.
Fair.
So it's
Absolutely.
just like go. And then our baseball tournaments, the 3rd, 4th, 5th. So it's all back to back. So we didn't feel like it was fair for us, for them, for us not to be able to put in our 100%. Come August, we're there full time. And our staff is, I'm going to say, fully trained, as opposed to just a weekend. Our summer staff.
The program's like running
Yes.
instead of just starting up. Perfect.
Thing to keep a note for August 8th
Yeah.
is it's Sunflower Festival.
Okay.
So that might be worth considering.
That was just a date kind of they had thrown back and we had thrown back. I didn't even think of that. But they were kind of flexible on their days. They also seen that with the Nancy plans on going back to the library, and they have a lot of summer staff too. So they're kind of in the same kind of crunch with us. So
I don't think it should be on the 8th if that's Sunflower Festival.
yes, I agree.
Yeah. So with the carnival, like you mentioned, the volunteers, is there any way to squeeze it down to a day and a half instead of 2.5 days, or is it just too much stuff?
It'd be, I think, too much, and I don't think our silent auction brings in a lot.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't want to eliminate anything.
No.
Can you condense it? I was just
So
tough.
it would be tough, yeah. Technically, it is 2 days if you look at it, because it's only Friday night, Saturday all day, and then Sunday till noon. So I mean, it's just, I don't know.
Volunteer wise, the volunteers don't start Saturday until noon.
Yeah.
11, 12,
Well, not
it starts at noon, right?
Yes.
So
So it starts at 11. So they're in there around
Okay.
9 to do the kitchen.
oh yeah.
But with not having to have as many in for the lunch hour, we would be able to just bring in our dinner staff like an hour earlier and just prep there.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Dinner went well in-house, like not having somebody else, another agency or whatnot come in. It worked out well.
So our thoughts were we could have food outside. We have the kitchen, we have everything kind of there ready. A space heat, like an infrared heater would heat that little kitchen, no problem for 3-4 hours. And then it would give the outside people a little bit of something to do. And then we talked about potentially having like a Sprucedale does, or McMurrick Monteith does, like a run and just comes in for the seniors who can't get outside. Hey, this is our menu. What would you like? We have bodies able to do that. It's the cooking and the prepping of the lunch per se. And then standing there and manning it and not having that kitchen space to prep the dinner.
It's not, the outside kitchen's not licensed, right? Like it's not an inspected kitchen, so we couldn't prep food there.
You can prep. And I don't think you'd want to. It's very basic. Crock pots and stuff would be fine. But I don't, honestly, we've never used the stove out there. I couldn't even tell you.
I'm not sure if we can use crock pots out there if it's not licensed, if it's not an inspected kitchen.
We can have it inspected though. They come around and look at everything.
Good at special occasions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, so we do the same thing for the ball hockey. So they come in.
Oh, fair. Yeah, fair. Okay.
Or not
Barbecue or
hockey,
whatnot. Okay.
Baseball, sorry.
Other questions for Danica?
It was a super fun weekend.
Yeah, good job, Dan.
I would like you to pick different donuts for the donut eating contest. So those were pretty nice.
Yeah, what we get. I say 3 of each, or 4. Yeah, 3 kinds.
I think too, Danica and I had a conversation. I didn't know if you wanted to give a bit of an update on kind of reshaping what the budget looks like for 2026 for Heritage Festival.
Yeah, so we had kind of come up with a $7,500 plan to put in the budget. So that's kind of what we told Allison. We're looking at potentially, depending on what Nancy, Barry, and Peter come back with, $4,500 for that. And then we're entertaining doing a murder mystery dinner at a different date. We were debating on adding that to it. But then we all had a discussion of who really wants to go eat dinner, like a big dinner like that during the summer. So it would be like a 2-day kind of thing. So we would do that in October or November when people are wanting to get it and do something a little bit different.
Yeah, I think the way that it was structured when we spoke about it is because there was a lot of ideas tossed around at the last meeting where it was discussed. So it was kind of the point of the $7,500 could be used for Heritage Festival or to enhance or create new other events. There was some discussion around, do we support any like another established event and partner with them or start something else up? So, I think that based on the conversation, the conversations of council, a reduction was worth considering. So I think that's what we'll see pushed forward in the budget is to maintain some of the funds, but reshape.
Some of the questions, or one of the questions that was asked was, so we give them, or we do 4,500 for it's not August 8th anymore, but for that day, and say they make funds. Are they to come and pay Armour back, or is that just like a gift?
It was a donation, and historically, anything that was like made at the gate or anything like that was donated back, right? I think that's reasonable.
So they can look at it as a fundraiser. That was kind of the question. And I said, typically that's been in the past, but I wasn't sure what it was going to look like going forward.
I don't think we can say we'll lend you $4,500 or $7,500 and also put your pots out because we want money back. I think we're like, we're not going to reduce your budget by 75% and ask for you to give us some money back. I don't know. What would Lady Di say?
I don't know.
I don't think we should be asking for any donations.
Well, in the past, the Heritage Festival budget was Armour's budget.
Mhm.
It was our expense. We didn't expect it to.
That was our Canada Day originally.
So that's we had gone to them kind of doing like an amazing race kind of thing. And I think that's what we'll probably work towards. They were very happy to start with something not small, but smaller, and be able to have the ability to grow as opposed to pin us in a corner and say, we have to keep this every year. So their suggestion was originally it was to have a bus pick them up at the Katrine Community Center. They would pre-sell tickets for that. And then they do like a tour, and you'd have like, when you go to like Jamaica, on the left, you see the goat, on the right, you see this. So it would give them a tour of kind of doing Leggett's Road out to the Watt farmhouse. They'd get a full tour of that. And then the bus would take them to the Wiseman Corners. So I think they've realized busing isn't the cheapest, and you could kind of utilize those fees for other things. So that's something that's in the works, whether it just be a self-guided and these are your stops and these are where these activities are. So we're just trying to figure out the logistics necessarily working around that. Their concern again was parking. So they wanted to wait. They said they'd have more of an answer by April 7th on what kind of logistics parking wise. But now with us having the conversations of utilizing Wiseman Corners, that they have ample parking there, like not huge, but they have a lot more parking. And then Colin Love property abides, like sits next to that. So he also has parking there as well. So just figuring out the logistics and how big can they go with the parking that they have.
I just wrote down an idea for you.
Yeah.
Heritage Day. About some heritage games for the kids.
So they were talking about
Kick the can.
Yeah, so Nancy used the word, like I apologize, I can't remember, but very, very historic games. And like I think they were talking like the sack races and stuff like that to kind of bring back old school, more or less.
Red Rover.
I don't. You're not allowed to do that in school, so I mean,
Nettings on site.
You don't remember that one?
I remember. Some stars.
Any other?
Talking about block parking, and we don't have parking space. I know it's not going to make a lot of space, but if we're tearing down the chicken coop and something else, will that make no park? No.
That was Melissa's.
No, the only reason the chicken coop's coming down is to give the proper spacing in between the red building
Okay.
and the existing building
Okay.
to meet code.
Okay.
And it's derelict anyway.
That's presuming that by taking out the chicken coop, the rest of it doesn't come down with it.
Well, it won't.
And we weren't sure, we didn't want to bank on stuff like that. Like, will that be done by the time they have an event?
Other questions for Danica? Great work, Danica.
I'm glad the Heritage Society is comfortable with the change. That's good.
Yeah, they seemed very open with everything that was happening. Their main question was, so it's not happening at the fairgrounds? And I said, no, that's not in the plans. So then we both heard each other out. And I think, like I said, our plan is to kind of make it a little bit bigger, but not necessarily big on that land, just like Amazing Grace. Like, the original thought was we would start at the farmhouse, do like butter churning. Then you get your next clue of where you needed to go. Then you would go to the Berrydale schoolhouse, because again, we own that and it's very historic, and you find antiques. So we would have to talk with Hans and see, like, okay, this antique does this, this, and this, and you have to list out. And then you work your way to the Wiseman Corner House, schoolhouse, and do an axe throwing or an axe event. And then from there, we were going to see if McDonald wanted to kind of partner in with us and do like Screaming Heads. You have to do like a very old school photo there, and then do their museum and a trail, like a challenge out on the trail itself. So I think you'll see that come eventually. But again, they were comfortable with kind of starting small and going from there and getting their feet wet with that. And I think that's a good growing space.
Do we have to notify Burks Falls about the not using the?
I believe, sure. No? Okay. So there is a notice in the public notice. So I think before we do that, I can send an email out. As long as you guys are okay with the notice, I can send an email out to.
Yeah, just so they know we're not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's agriculture's land though, isn't it?
Yeah,
I already told them it was not in
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
I'll send an email to Wilma.
I think we used to notify both.
Yes.
Falls and the Heritage.
Yeah, any of our contracted services will do the same, just so that they're not putting us in the calendar.
Oh, and we should send something to, do we have like an email list of everybody, all the vendors from last year?
Yeah. So I figured I'd just send them the public notice.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. Anything else for Danica? Thanks, Danica.
Yeah.
Welcome to stay, of course.
Maybe for a few more minutes.
Yeah. Okay, next up, we have item 7. That's our list of accounts and our resolution. Council Township of Armour approved the March 2026 accounts in the amount of $278,676.71 for payment, and the mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign checks for same. Your Rod, seconder, Dorothy. Questions for Dave on the accounts? Or questions for the treasurer?
I had a couple, but he answered them today.
Allison would have been proud.
I'm good. Did a good job.
I think the best public meeting was for the consultant.
Yes.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, next up, we have 2 applications. First is one that's been here a couple times. This is the zoning bylaw amendment portion. After the applicant did not have to go through the official plan amendment process after our last meeting. So this is the zoning bylaw change. Council of Township of Armour accept the application for a zoning bylaw amendment as a requirement of consent file B049-25 submitted by Mark and Susan Armstrong, part lot 21, concession 4, described as 723 Skyline Drive, and request the municipal planner to proceed with drafting the zoning amendment bylaw.
Sure.
Got Jerry and I got Wendy. Okay, any questions for Shar on this one? This one's been here a couple times. Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. And the next one, item 9 is a planner's report. So this is on the Highway 520 Industrial Park, Algonquin Data Inc. So this Matt Fuller was here a meeting or two ago, 2 meetings ago now. So we've got a report, basic, the follow-up from that meeting, based on what our planner has to say about it. And any questions for Dave or Charlene along the way? We've got 2 versions of the resolution for this one. Believe those are in your package as well.
This is a very detailed report he's provided to us.
So in terms of providing information outside of what was in Fuller's proposal, we had sent all of the information that has been produced for the industrial park so that Landscape had an idea of how council ended up with these lands and what the purpose of these lands was. And that includes the McSweeney report from 2017 that kind of spoke to what McSweeney's recommendations were. Now, largely those recommendations in terms of rezoning and what have you were not followed. So Shar and I met with Planscape to review some of those plans and kind of give some of the relevant history and context into the property, just so that they had everything they needed to put. So a lot of that has been pulled. There was a lot of work that was put into it. I respect the next accounts to reflect that. But I think, to Charlene's point, we only really have one chance to kind of get this right. It is a relatively new type of use for property that the official plan likely wouldn't have taken in originally. So, Char, I don't know if you had any highlights from that meeting that you wanted to share in the report.
No, everything's there in the resolution.
Okay. So the subtle difference between the reading of the 2 resolutions is the one, it appears that it would be more, in principle, we support the sale of the property and we move forward, and then we basically wait for the due course in terms of studies, et cetera, coming back after the fact. And the one from the planner is more, sounds like to me, correct me if I'm wrong, Char, it sounds more like, let's get all the stuff in first and then we'll decide if we're going to sell them the property. So it's kind of a philosophical question around what we want to do. So my own opinions are mainly based on the fact that I actually have a data center background. So this is an interesting project to me. I think it's because of some of the stories around AI data centers, there's going to be things that come up in the news, and it's going to be one of those things that's potentially raises some eyebrows with people. But I think the biggest questions are around hydro use, and that's really not up to us to determine. That's up to Hydro One. It's not really our place to say we think it's going to use too much hydro, because hydro's not going to let it happen if it's going to impact their grid. So that's the one comment. The fact that questions around the batteries did come up in the original one, and I want to make sure we're not going down the BESS thing again, because this is nothing like a BESS. The goal of data centers is to stay up and protect the equipment that's in them. So when you're running a data center, what you're trying to do is not power down ever. And that's one of the issues. So, and if there ever was a fire, the fire suppression systems in data centers is built so that they protect what's there. So it's not going to be a question of concern about firefighters coming out, putting it out. They're going to put it out because they cannot damage the equipment. So that's just my 2 cents, just based on my own background, which admittedly goes back further than AI data center. It goes quite a ways back, but really that's always been the goal. They do use a lot of electricity. They have to be cool. The environments have to be kept cool. And you certainly want to protect them from flood and fire. So.
Is water a consideration? The amount of water that they would require to?
No, I don't think so.
Well, and they may have provided more detail on that. Matt may have provided more detail, but
So I think Matt was waiting for this report to come forward. So just to be clear, there's significant issues right now with data centers. I think out in Alberta, can correct me if I'm wrong on that, Shar, with water usage, and there is a lot of information circulating online that if we continue adopting AI at the rate that we are, we're going to really drain freshwater stores. So I think Matt has heard those. We do have some correspondence from Matt. I did let him know that we were going to be that we were going to be discussing this evening. So when we get to that point, I can read out what he had. I think the main portion for moving them north is, as he mentioned, the climate difference. So not using as much water all of the time. Keep in mind that property has a minimum 10 or a maximum of 10,000 liters per day per property. So that's where you're capped. You can't draw any more than that. So he's going to need to prove in his studies that he is going to be able to be under that amount.
Have to deal with MOE if he's more than 10.
Yeah. So typically speaking, you're going to have, like, he would have to be able to give estimates as to what that's going to look like, and satiate the needs in those reports. If I was to give my 2 cents on kind of the philosophical difference that Rod mentioned, is there's a couple of things at foot here. And Sharon and I spoke about this, when I proposed the second drafting, and that is, we have had somebody show an interest in the property that we have been investing in for quite some time, and we can ask him to jump through hoops and pay all of the fees, but he doesn't own that property. And I guess the having the support and principle conditional on all of these is a good indicator that, that so long as there's not going to be negative or adverse impacts that can be proven and demonstrated, Armour would be in support of that, if in fact Armour Council is probably a more welcoming way to go about it than we were not even going to consider selling you the property until you spend XYZ creating these reports. So again, he brought up a point in a conversation of, would any business going in there be subject to the same things as I am? And I mean, that's it's difficult to answer that, because if you wanted to bring in a chemical processing or a lithium refinery, obviously there would be some challenges with that. So the philosophical difference is you still need to meet all of the details in the report, but we would support in principle, provided you're able to satiate that. And that gives a little bit more, I guess, confidence in going through the process. That so this isn't an MOU, this isn't an agreement of sale, just that we welcome the proposal, and so long as everything checks all of its balances, we should be all right. But
so he would be fully aware that if it didn't, even though he spent this money, we won't be selling him the property.
If it doesn't meet the needs, then I'm sure, and don't get me wrong as well, I don't think he'd be wasting all of that money, because any of the reports that he would gain there, I would imagine 90% of that information would be useful anywhere else he'd go. So again, I think that there's a balance, and he has to make his decisions as to whether or not this meets his risk profile for how much he wants to invest into this.
And we don't foresee any issues from the gate, based on this report and based on your knowledge. We don't foresee anything that would lead us to believe it won't be.
Well, I think the whole purpose of having the reports is to gain the information so that we know that, right? And I mentioned this in the meeting with Planscape and Charlene. Like, I'm not an expert in data centers. Charlene isn't. Mm-hmm. Planscape isn't. Armour Council isn't. Maybe Rod is. But
not AI do.
Yeah, and I think it's incumbent on the potential purchaser to give us all of this information. So we've seen in the media and we've heard at the meeting that noise is something that we want to look at, ability to handle dust and complementary businesses going in the park. We want to make sure that we're not creating an issue there, as well as water usage. All of these things came up, battery storage, and Matt has been pretty flexible. And if lithium ion is a no, then we can look at other battery technologies. He did mention at the last meeting as well that the battery uptime is approximately 15 seconds for the generators to kick on and take over, and so really the battery is a stopgap. Until the generators kick on. So I think, again, the philosophical side is, do we want to be welcoming to this development so long as it's not going to be, create adverse conditions, or do we, or are we taking the approach of, here's the Riot Act, meet the Riot Act. We've got a lot invested in the park as well, so we don't want to compromise it. But in my opinion, we don't want to be I don't think we want to be seen as actively discouraging without all of the right information.
No, I mean, if you look at other business, like if you look at Waveform, it's not like there was a lot of discussion about Waveform going in and what they were doing. And you go in there, I've been on their floor 3 or 4 times, and it's impressive what they've got there. But they're there to run a business. They have to meet certain quality standards. And they do a great, same with Loft House. You walk on the floor of Loft House, it's unbelievable what they do. So they're clearly they're trying to protect the environment and protect their investment, and they want to stay. So I would, you'd have to assume that this organization is going down the same path.
And those 2 examples also use hydro, and those 2 examples, so yeah, that makes sense.
I guess the one thing I was a little concerned about was, I know when we first bought that land and hoped to develop it, we were really looking for some strong employment out of it. And I'm not sure this proposal is going to give us that. It's going to give us 2 or 3, possibly 4 local jobs, and probably significantly well-paid jobs. But
I agree with Wendy. That was my first thought, but there's still room, right? It's not like I would be hesitant to give them the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're going to use piece of it, and we can find, I don't know. We don't know what it's going to, if it's there, or it would be compatible with or something, but it's not out of the question that there's still potential for more job.
And it's currently producing 0 jobs.
Right.
as it sits now.
Yes, and it has for years.
That also came up in the meeting with Planscape, and my kind of statement on that was, if a body shop came in, was employing 3 to 4 people on 2 to 4 acres, I don't know that we'd necessarily turn that down.
Yeah.
And I kind of gone are the days of chasing smokestacks. I would say, out of all of the proposals we've received over the years for that property, we've had everything from buying the whole property and putting 150 jobs on there to 10 to 15 jobs. One of the proposals we had, I think, was under 15. And so I think, it's hard to say. We never really set a limit on that, but I think 4 to 5 good paying jobs is worth considering. But again, council has to set those limits if they would like to.
Well, and it's like you said, it's maybe 3 or 4 jobs, but on 10% of the property, right? It's only 2 acres. You still have 9.
They're looking for between 6 to 8.
6 to 8.
As was scalable.
40%. Okay.
I don't know if you wanted to cover off Matt's comment.
Yeah, so Matt sent an email this afternoon because he wasn't able to make it. So just read it through. Hi, Dave and Charlene. Want to let you know that I'm unfortunately unable to attend tonight's council meeting. Apologize for any inconvenience and ask that this email be included in the record for item 9 on the agenda. Megwin Data Inc. has reviewed the planning report prepared by Ryan Lloyd, Planscape, dated March 5th, 2026, and we're encouraged by its findings. We're grateful to council staff and Planscape for their work in reviewing our proposal. Regarding the required studies and additional information identified in the report in the pre-consultation checklist, we wanted council to be aware that before we are able to commit to a submission timeline, we require time to review each required study with their consultants, identify and engage the appropriate qualified professionals for each study type, and obtain cost estimates and timelines for the full scope of work. We anticipate completing this internal review within approximately 60 days, and we'll follow up with council and staff at a time with a clear path forward. We remain fully committed to this project and to the Township of Armour. We look forward to continuing to work collaboratively with everyone involved. Matt Fuller. So we have 2 versions of the resolution, one being more along the lines of, in principle, we would accept a conditional sale, assuming that the studies would be forthcoming, and the other one being more, do the studies and then we'll talk.
We're asking somebody to invest in our township. Fancy. Spend a bunch of money and then we might entertain allowing you to invest, as opposed to
entertaining.
And we're telling you that if you can meet these requirements, we will enter into an agreement with you. I think that's much more reasonable. No, like I wouldn't invest in your land because you might consider selling it to me one day.
This the planner provided a report to council based on your recommendation to have the planner review it. And the planner has provided his recommendations with those requirements. And then Dave's is a different version of that, more.
So the wording of the first resolution came from direct from our planner. Is that what yours?
And directly from their report. And I've reviewed that first resolution with them. That's the only resolution that Planscape has seen. Now, Dave's is worded differently, more along the lines of.
We'll sell it to you if.
Yeah.
Can we, are we, please, I'm seeking information. Can we table this and send the second resolution to Planscape and get the review on that?
There's not much of a difference to it, just.
Yeah, I think that's basically our position. I don't think Planscape's gonna.
Okay.
So whereas the Planscape's resolution lists all the studies and technical reports that we have to have, we have as a line here, council support and principle is conditional upon the submission and satisfactory review of the required information, studies and technical reports and the completion of all necessary planning approvals, including but not limited to site-specific zoning amendment and supporting technical studies as required.
I just like having a resolution in front of me in the planning file, ticking the boxes so that I don't have to keep going back and reading a planner report and missing one that we studied.
So you prefer a resolution that has the detailed studies included?
It's easier for me to track. Summarizing and just saying all the reports and studies still it falls on me to go back and review that.
Can we put,
the two.
yeah, can we put those in with Dave's line about?
What is that?
Right.
That's rain.
No, it's the heater in the water cooler.
Oh, is it?
Oh, I was like,
That sounds like rain at our barn, so I'm like.
I was like, it's hailing, if
Yeah.
that is, okay.
In the end,
Sorry,
if
I
it's
lied.
No, I
second
thought that's what it was.
resolution, then that's fine. It just,
Well, administratively, I understand where you're coming from. I do think we can either be open to the development. Like it would be very difficult for us to not even agree in principle and expect that they're going to go through the expense of those studies, because I imagine they're very expensive. So if we agree in principle based on us receiving those studies to our satisfaction.
Can we include all the studies in our resolution
Second resolution.
so that you're not going back and forth?
He's going to go back and listen to this and hear the conversation. So I don't see there's any problem with tabling it and adding that in if that's what council would prefer. And it does say the last and further that any agreement for the sale of municipal land shall be subject to the final approval by council and the execution of a formal agreement of purchase and sale.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the buck stops with council. I think it's we either want to welcome compatible development. And I think if we want to lead with that, or
he has to fully understand what studies are required.
Right,
So
which
whether
went
that-
from the consultation checklist, right?
but there's more in the planner's report.
There's more in the planners.
The planner's report lists those 6 items in that resolution. And then it gets into addressing and further the applicant shall address the requirements identified in the pre-con checklist dated January 26. So numbers 1 through 6 are the requirements from the Planscape's report. And in addition, the checklist requirements is the second.
Yes.
Under that.
Yeah.
And I believe that those 6 items would have been based on that meeting that we had with Stefan. Right.
would council prefer to see a combined resolution?
If that's going to make it clerically easier for you, but also support the developer.
It'd be a little more refined as to
Exactly what he needs to do.
Does it sound reasonable?
what the needs are.
want to read these resolutions again, sorry,
Um,
on my list.
I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable. I mean, if he figures.
You are saying you have to do all of this, but I think to outline what all of this is wouldn't hurt. Although it's going to take 45 minutes for Rod to read it.
Yeah.
But I think it's like maybe cleaner.
So we can word it exactly the way this one is. And
And attach the other.
at the end of, so where we've got, and further, the council supports in principle is conditional upon the submission and satisfactory review of the required information, studies, and technical reports and the completion of all necessary planning approvals, including but not limited to a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment and supporting technical studies as required under the township's official plan and applicable legislation, and studies listed 1 through 6, and we can name them.
Yeah.
I like that better. Yeah.
Studies identified by the planner.
Yeah.
And AI will have to stand for Armour's intelligence. Use a bad.
Rod, do you want to maybe just take a few minute break and then I can get this resolution typed out?
Yeah, we can do that, because I prefer not to table this, because I think we've tabled this once already.
I'd like to allow them their time to get started on it.
Yeah.
And
I think it'd be wise to
resolution, I
have
understand.
that done.
Okay, so let's take a 5-minute breather and we'll get the.
Okay.
So. Okay, we're back from our short break. We have some reworded resolution I'll read through. Whereas Council Township of Armour has received a planning report dated March 5th, 2026 from Ryan Lloyd Consulting Planner with Planscape regarding a request from Megwin Data Inc. to purchase a portion of municipally owned land within the Highway 520 Industrial Park for the development of an AI data and infrastructure AI compute facility. And whereas council recognizes that the subject lands have been identified for future employment, uses, and economic development opportunities within the Township of Armour. And whereas council has directed the proponent to provide additional information and supporting studies to allow for a complete evaluation of the proposed development and its potential impacts. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council of Township of Armour expresses its willingness in principle to enter into negotiations for the sale of a portion of the municipally owned lands within the Highway 520 Industrial Park to Megwin Data Inc., subject to the proponent satisfying the requirements identified in the March 5th, 2026 planning report and any additional requirements of the township. And further, that council supports in principle is conditional upon the submission and satisfactory review of the required information, studies, and technical reports and the completion of all necessary planning approvals, including but not limited to a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment and supporting technical studies as required under the township's official plan and applicable legislation. Specific studies include, but are not limited to: 1, a conceptual site plan illustrating the full build-out of the development; 2, confirmation of the number and type of permanent local employment opportunities; 3, details regarding water supply and septic servicing requirements; 4, confirmation from Hydro One regarding electrical servicing capacity and potential impacts to the local power grid; 5, information regarding potential impacts related to noise, vibration, ventilation, and land use compatibility; and 6, preliminary operational and emergency response plan for the proposed facility. Further, that the applicant shall address the requirements identified in the pre-consultation checklist dated January 26, 2026 to the satisfaction of the township's municipal planner. And further, that any agreement for the sale of municipal land should be subject to final approval by council in the execution of a formal agreement of purchase and sale on terms satisfactory to the township. Amir, Jerry. Seconder.
Sure.
Rod. Any other questions? Any changes to the resolution? All those in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. It's Dave and Sharp sorting that through. And we are into reports. No, we're not. We're in the bylaws. All right. Council of the Township of Armour have written approved bylaw 13-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council at its February 2026 meetings. We authorize the mayor and clerk to sign this bylaw and affix the seal of the corporation thereto. Wendy. Dorothy. Those are for the meetings, regular council meetings on February 10th and 24th, and the tri-council February 23rd. All those in favor? That's carried. And the Council of Township of Armour have read and approved bylaw 14-2026, being a bylaw to establish a committee of adjustment and repeal bylaw 62-2025. We authorize the mayor and clerk to sign this bylaw and affix the seal of the corporation there too. Yeah, move on this one, Wendy. Seconder. Dorothy again. This is for our new CBO.
Yep.
Adding him to the list. Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Now we're into reports. First up, we have planning report from Shar. Some interesting things coming up, Charlene.
Yeah, it's picking up, that's for sure.
Some pre-consultations coming up.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Got one for 192 lot subdivision with a sewage treatment and water treatment system.
How many?
192 lots of subdivision.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Where? Oh, I mean, never mind.
Well, it says it right there. It's concession 13, part lot 8. So that'll put it off North Pickerel Lake Road. And then we had another one. We're going to be updating the shipping container provisions. You authorized Bob to proceed
Right.
with that. I just have Planscape reviewing the draft bylaw. They had a couple questions for Bob. Basically, the way that the draft bylaw is written is if it's under the square footage for where you don't need a building permit, it's permitted. But if you want a shipping container that's larger, then you've got to apply for a rezoning in order to get a building permit. So Landscape wanted a little bit of clarification on that. And then we'll figure out if they're supported or not. So I haven't done the circulation on that one. Yeah.
Any questions for Shar on the planning report? Next up, we have the planning boards. That's a meeting on February 25th. We only had one hearing. It went pretty well. We did clarify some of the fees that we had. There were a couple, especially subdivision fees, that were kind of confusing the way they were worded. So we simplified all that, and it actually reduced the overall fees on things like subdivisions once you get up to 20 or 30.
I have it and it's updated on our website.
Is it updated? Thanks, Sean. Also see a set of minutes from the previous planning board meeting, so that's pretty exciting. We're hoping that that becomes a trend. And there's, in the background, there's been some ongoing discussions around Kearney's concerns and the reasons that they were asking to leave. So we've had some, I think, productive discussions in the background around some potential improvements. We'd still like them to stay. So, any questions on the planning board? Next up is the ACE board meeting in February 26th. Over to Wendy and Lee.
So you have the minutes of our January meeting there. The February report is there as well. We looked at in our meeting. was a pretty quiet meeting. We spent a fair amount of time discussing fees for service, how the board felt, and the board recognized the challenges that our staff will have with marketing and promoting the area when we have chunks that are no longer members. So we spent a lot of time at the meeting discussing that and how best to proceed. It's a lot of discussion. So the municipalities that are paying fees are definitely going to get more services. They're still going to get their in-house services. Staff will come to the municipal offices, have meetings with staff as well as potential businesses that want to meet at a municipal office as opposed to coming in here. But the area will be marketed for, I don't know how to best describe it, but the tourism aspects, the things that are going on in the communities, those will be included
For the whole region.
in the whole region, because there's really no other way.
And it's necessary.
Reasonably. And the major changes to service fees structure is just kind of put on the side burner for now.
Well,
Stick with our existing.
I would say the vast majority of fees for service will still apply for case-specific business needs, or if municipalities want to partner with something specifically that we're doing. I think the board elected to allow staff to use their discretion in promoting the region. We do a lot of, ACE, still taking that hat off. Still taking that hat off.
Well, you were that had the meetings.
Yeah. But I think staff have the clearance to round out the. Sorry, that's what I was saying. We produce a lot of tourism content, itineraries, articles, that type of stuff, and that is front facing to all people coming to visit the region. And if we skip over certain municipalities for any reason, we're doing a disservice to the end user, the people that are reviewing this content. So I think the board gave staff the authority to write articles as they see fit and to really kind of shine in that public space. But at the same time, tracking and monitoring efforts that are being made across the region. So I think that it's important that down the road partners understand the investment that goes into this. And whether they are contributing members or not, there can be partners in other capacities. So I think at the end of it all, if we're able to show to partners, this is the amount of hours and time that went into creating this article that circulated people throughout the region or gave people a reason to come into the region. That should speak volumes to folks when they see the investment that's going in and the investment that some municipalities are picking up. So that is the best way to provide the best service in that regard. But when it comes to business supports, let's say a business from a non-member comes in looking for business support, fees for services still apply. If a municipality wants support on a specific project, say a strategic planning, fees for service will apply. Funding applications, fees for service will apply. If a municipality wants to participate in shop local, again, fees for service. So there's still those opportunities there, but there were a number of packages that were reviewed to go back to municipalities and say, well, if you only want this and not this, but there's been a lot of discussion around a lot of council tables. And I think the board felt that let's not continue to add noise. We'll let everybody kind of breathe. We'll continue doing the good work that we do and carry on. Or revisit it at a later date.
Great work is happening.
Well, that was the bulk of the meeting. It wasn't. This is the long meeting. And the board did recognize Dave as our director with a thank you card and a very small token of our appreciation for the work that he did as director for so many years.
So was it a lock for his front door?
A working one? No, I would say it was very much appreciated. Actually, I'm going to be writing a quick little note to the board as a thank you.
Thank you for the thank you.
Yeah.
Help me help you.
Yeah. So any questions from the report?
For Wendy.
So good.
I think it was positive at the meeting.
It was a positive
Went
meeting.
around in circles a little bit
Yeah,
for a while, and then it kind of.
yeah. We have very good, sometimes lengthy discussion at those ACE meetings. And we had quite a few people participating by Zoom. Unfortunately, that's not my
It's not quite the
preference.
same, yeah.
Not the same, but we do still get Zoom people participating. So that's like actively participating in discussion, which is good.
Excellent. Thanks, Wendy.
Yep.
Next couple of reports are informational. Actually, we have a resolution for the third one. So we've got the East Tone levy information, item 15, and the EMS Advisory Committee meeting of February 26th.
So if you note in the EMS, there was a resolution that was passed recommending that the council of the town of Parry Sound authorize the Director of Development and Protective Services to enter into an MOU that outlines the process for the renovation and relocation of the South River EMS base to 309 Highway 124 in South River.
No, I didn't miss that.
So it's being relocated. Is that what you're saying?
It says for the renovation and relocation of the South River EMS base to 309 Highway 124.
That must be down by Sunbury down.
South River, yeah.
Is it
309.
the 120?
124? Well, it's on 124 now.
Is that the 124?
That's
Starts at Sunbury and goes to South River.
Starts in South River, goes to.
Depends where one starts. One
124 goes across.
309 is South River Brew Co. Would be former South River.
Oh.
Brew Co.
Just up the road then from the other one.
So like, yeah, almost next door, almost.
A few doors down.
Well, it says renovation. I wonder if they plan to merge renovation
They
and,
have to renovate that, the new building and then move.
amazing.
Didn't hear about that.
I'm assuming they're going to wait for the Berks Falls one to be done first, so they're not both operating out of.
Yeah. Next is the Omeguin OPP Detachment Board. There is a resolution for this one based on best information about the budgeting for the OPP board. The resolution reads as follows. Council Township of Armour approve the draft 2026 Omeguin Highlands OPP Detachment Board budget in the net amount of $14,872.15, with the Township of Armour's share being $1,322.58. Get a mover.
Sure.
Seconder.
Sure.
Dorothy. Any questions about this one?
well, I thought this was kind of interesting. The most expensive item on this budget is insurance.
Insurance, yeah, exactly.
And we were forced by the province to have these boards. And now we got to insure them.
Yeah. It's the same thing that happened with things like the lake associations and that.
Yeah.
I found that 3/4 of the budget was insurance, with liability or whatever, insurance for a lake association.
Yes.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? It's carried. Next up is the Health Council meeting from last week, which was March 5th. So everything seemed to revolve around space and buildings. Well, even we had an update from Deb at the family health team here in Berks Falls. And they kind of reiterated that they're at full capacity in terms of staffing. They're not looking to hire anybody right now, but basically they're out of space. So there was discussion around where would they go if they did have to hire somebody. So that conversation came up. Then we had the fact that if there's any grant money that is going to be forthcoming for any new primary care, whether it's nurse practitioner or physician, it has to come with space because they won't give you the grant if you don't have the space. And then we had our building and space committee meet right before this. So it was all kind of revolved around that. And then we included the expression of interest that Dave's going to be releasing this week for the Health and Innovation Hub on Peggs Mountain Road that we talked about in our last meeting. So we brought that to this council so for awareness as well. So it was all good discussion at the end of it. Just the realization that whether like 150 Houston Street's not going anywhere, but we still need more space.
It's at a complete capacity, that entire building's capacity.
The only place it could go is the boardroom upstairs potentially, if they repurpose that. But the discussion was more around, would make more sense to move the lab and x-ray out of there into a new building and then take over that space for other stuff. But the other discussion that came up was covering the cost of their operational deficits that we talked about in the last meeting. So that there was a lot of conversation about that. And the fact at the end of the day, we'd like to see something that's more broad and takes into account Sundridge, because we should be looking at all the facilities and saying, okay, what's the cost across the whole region? Let's figure out a formula. So that's kind of where that discussion went. And there was agreement, but as I said, there's agreement until somebody says you have to pay the money. And then everybody argues about how it's going to be split.
Well, and the operating cost included things like $10,000 for reserves.
Yeah. Which they recognize, and Sean's their rep, so Sean recognized that he understood why there was pushback. They just, from Burke's Falls point of view, they just like predictability. So they know that there's some kind of agreement in place to cover the cost if that's what we're going to do. So anyway, it's good discussion, and we'll see where it goes. Not too many questions on the expression of interest there.
No, they didn't have to.
Any questions on the Health Council? The waitlist numbers are still coming down at the Omega Highlands Family Health Team. So they're still targeting the end of this calendar year to have them hopefully down to 0. So see where it goes. Sundridge is losing their physician at the end of one of their physicians at the end of each. So there's already recruitment going on to try and replace them.
Now they only have 2 there now or 3?
They'll be down to 2. Yeah.
They're
at 3 now. They'll be at end of March. They'll be down to 2. Yeah. Okay. Next up, the informal Tri-Council Advisory Committee. That happened today, I guess.
So we met this afternoon at Ryerson, and basically our meeting focused on the next 2 agreements, which is the arena and the landfill. We didn't get into we spent a fair amount of time going through the details of the arena agreement. Braden had done the drafts. We're trying to follow the same basic formula that we've used. Nothing's finalized. We discussed a bunch of stuff. We have a couple questions of the legal nature regarding ownership that we feel is important that we get sorted out before we're in a position to deal with the disposal of the old town hall. What's actually in those agreements and what the meaning is. It talks about equity ownership.
Yeah.
So
Unregistered. Yeah.
we want to know exactly what that term means and there's a definition for real property. And how does that relate to the equity ownership?
Yeah, I think there were both new agreements were put on the table today. That I think the notion is to send those out to municipalities or send those out to the committee, have the committee review, pose some questions, bring those back to a council meeting prior to the next try, and get those kind of finished up as quickly as possible. So if anybody around the table here has questions or would like to see certain things in a new arena or a new landfill agreement, that will be coming around in the next couple of months. So you can marinate on that, and we can put those in.
Okay.
There was some brief discussion on the wastewater question that came to council. So they received the correspondence from me stating that Armour's position hasn't changed since 2021 when the resolution was passed. And Ryerson hasn't, I don't think, made a formal decision yet, but based on some changes that are being made to their official plan on changes at the provincial level, it may not be of value for them to consider being part and parcel to the further study of things. And that has to do with like designation for agricultural lands. which would be applicable pretty much all the way to Midlothian Road.
Yeah.
So they had some questions on that as well, but lots of, I think that the general, a really big takeaway is that the committee is working very well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the items that have been discussed on individual council tables are coming into that and using that to guide conversations. So it's having the desired effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
So we'll continue to meet monthly, hoping that we don't have to meet for summertime. I know it gives a couple of the committee members a problem trying to commit to a monthly meeting in the summer. So we're hoping to plug along and then maybe take the summer off and then get back again.
And the legal question around the equity piece, that hasn't really been answered yet, right?
Our lawyer hasn't responded with an answer yet.
I poked them again.
Oh, did you?
When I got back into the office today, but it was noted that that former administration in Berks Falls had gotten opinions.
Yeah.
And they use the same firm as us, not the same lawyer. Yeah. But that essentially, I believe Berks Falls is under the interpretation that the property, like the physical property, the location belongs to Berks Falls, but the building belongs to the three municipalities. And in the event that, based on the building, I mean, if we have a condition assessment, it could be an asset or a liability.
Yeah, it's
good. Want these 3 floors and maybe that bay?
So I think there's still a little bit to be determined there, but it was encouraging, I think, and I don't know, Wendy, if this resonates with you, but it was encouraging to see that the Berks Falls representative was very, I think, on board of saying, well, we want to make sure that the ownership is transparent and that the direction and the outcomes, whenever the cards drop, are favorable to all parties. Yeah. Not one specifically, and we'd like to solve that now before we get into new agreements. The one note that I made is that there's issues with the definitions for real property. There's no definition for unregistered, equitable contributions, and the usage of that between the agreements is kind of spotty and hard to trace. So whether we adjust that and then come out with a bit of a one-pager overview of this is what the reality looks like for ownership, and if anything needs to be changed. Yeah. Then we can look at that. But it sounds like those discussions are going favorably and with everybody's interests in mind.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that's continuing on, making progress. Any other reports? Okay. We can probably let's zip through correspondence. We'll take a short break since we're having a little bit of a break. Let's still take the short break and then we'll finish off. The correspondence is items 18 to 29. We have a couple resolutions there. Whereas the Rorab Shrine Club has requested permission to conduct its annual Tag Day fundraising event within the Township of Armour on May 30th, 2026. And whereas Tag Day is a charitable fundraising initiative in support of the charitable activities of Shriners International and Shriners Hospitals for Children, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Township of Armour hereby approves the request from RORAB to designate May 30th, 2026 as Tag Day within the Township of Armour. Jerry. All those in favor? Yeah, Tag Day, thank you. The next one we may actually just kill, but I'll get Cher's opinion on this one based on late breaking news. So this was the resolution was around consolidation of conservation authorities across the province, and town of Kingsville wanted more. Basically, they opposed it, but it's too late. What happened today? So they're going down from, what was it, Shar? 34?
37
or 8 or 6 down to 9. They decided on 9. They were going to go down to 7.
Yeah.
And they went down to 9. So I think this resolution is kind of.
Yeah, so what I will do with the minutes is just detail that you've reviewed the resolutions, and then I won't address the passing or starting a resolution, just confirm that you guys have reviewed them.
It came too late.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the email that I sent out to everyone this afternoon.
All right.
Interesting that it was dated November 19th, 2025, though.
I've been getting a lot of resolutions from municipalities that are just being passed now.
Okay. The next one is another test of my endurance.
I didn't write it.
Okay, whereas Ontario municipalities are legislated to preserve records of enduring and historical value, and community archives play a critical role in fulfilling this responsibility, particularly in the rural and smaller municipalities. And whereas the Heritage Organization Development Grant, HODGE, is the only provincial operating grant available to grassroots nonprofit heritage organizations, including community archives and historical societies across Ontario. And whereas the maximum annual Hodge grant of $1,545 per organization has remained effectively unchanged for more than 15 years, resulting in a significant erosion of its real value due to inflation, such that its current purchasing power is approximately 2/3 of what it was in 2010. And whereas rising operating costs related to insurance, utilities, records preservation, digitization, accessibility, and volunteer coordination have increased financial pressure on heritage organizations, often requiring municipalities to absorb additional costs to ensure continuity of service. And whereas strengthening Hodge would represent a modest but high impact provincial investment that would help stabilize community archives, reduce pressure on municipal budgets, safeguard Ontario's public records and local heritage for future generations. Therefore, be it resolved, the Council of Township of Armour formally support a review and modernization of the Hodge grant, including restoring its real purchasing power through inflationary adjustment and exploring options for increased or multi-year operating stability. Therefore, and be it further resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Gaming, local members of Parliament, provincial Parliament, AMO, and Ontario municipalities for consideration and support. Berthy. Seconder. Mendy. All those in favor? That's carried.
But there are, will
Yeah,
our
we-
heritage
Good question.
group have access to this?
We receive it annually, but it's always only been 1545. So I'm
To
actually,
get this though.
yeah, so I'm gonna take this resolution to the March 16th Historical Society meeting and have them pass a supporting resolution as well. Diane thought it was pretty awesome that this is circulating.
Yeah. Cool.
This is the last one from the correspondent. So this is item 21, I believe. Yeah, East Ferris. Whereas the municipality of East Ferris is planning the construction of a new fire hall that will serve as a regional fire training center for fire departments, including from across the Nipissing, East Perry Sound, and East Sudbury districts. And whereas the closest accredited and operational training facilities are currently located in Huntsville, Haleybury, and Sault Ste. Marie, requiring significant travel, increased cost, and reduced training frequency for volunteer and composite departments in our region. Whereas the summer 2025 storm in the municipality of Calvin demonstrated the effectiveness of regional collaboration under a declared state of emergency, highlighting the value of joint training and coordinated emergency response. And whereas a regional training center in East Ferris would allow firefighters to train closer to home, reduce operational costs, foster interdependent collaboration, and improve readiness for future emergencies. Therefore, be it resolved, Council Township of Armour supports the municipality of East Ferris in its application to NOHFC for funding assistance to construct the East Ferris Regional Fire Training Center. And further, a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the municipality of East Ferris to demonstrate our municipality support this important regional initiative. I get a mover. Sure. Chair
Sure.
and Rod. And we did have a comment from our fire chief that he does support this. Maybe we can take advantage. All those in favor? That's carried.
I didn't realize Huntsville had what they considered a training.
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like a burn building as well, or
Yeah.
not sure what's there.
Did we not historically only have one, like the fire college?
Yeah, which was supported by the province. We didn't pay anything for that, but they closed it down, so now.
Now it's piecemeal. Yeah. Okay, so we've just got unfinished and new business. So let's just take a quick. Let's make it a 7-minute break till 8:40. Okay, we're back to unfinished business. Item 30, so this is the resolution that Perry put through regarding Southeast Perry, it's the planning board. Which was just basically asking them to stay. Similar to discussions we've had before. So we did have I had some follow-up with Carney this week, just to kind of get their perspective on things. So as I say, I think the discussion's good. Now, but more importantly, I think, Dave, you could speak to the clerks group and some work that's being done at that level to just try and get a bit of a handle on how this all fits together, why we have a planning board, how it all kind of fits together.
Yeah, there's four municipalities via clerks or clerk CAOs that are getting together to map out the planning process from start to finish, where the handoffs exist, a comparison of fees and charges, where the fees are applied throughout the process, where handoffs go towards the planning board, as well as looking at kind of pain points. Actually, I should say comparison between Southeast Algonquin Planning Board, Central Algonquin Planning Board, and potential for other case studies. So we have a representative from Kearney, Perry, Strong, and myself going through to gather that information, produce essentially an analysis of what the landscape looks like, recommendations where appropriate, and some reasonable education. I think not just to council members, but potentially the public. I think the idea is to just give a fulsome review of what that process looks like, find opportunities for alignment, and reduce potential duplication if possible. So we don't know where it's going to go. At the clerks and treasurers meeting, I had said, I may be the worst person for this because I don't claim to have a very strong purview in planning. But maybe there'll be a strength in that. So I've already apologized to everybody in advance for the barrage of likely stupid questions that come forward, but maybe it gives me the latitude to poke and prod and seek some understanding.
The great thing is there are no stupid questions because you could just say,
Yeah.
I don't understand this, so explain it to me.
If you ask my wife, I've come out with a few of them in my time.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you taking that on. I think it's important. New business, health unit discontinuation of routine beach sampling. Item 31.
I think that's very concerning.
So the only beach they were testing was Dull Lake Beach, was it not? Because they gave up Halcyon Beach on Pickerel a few years ago.
That's right. So they're still doing it on complaint driven. If there's concerns, if you call them, they'll come and assess, and everyone's getting updated signs.
I think so. When we look at what happened with the fires out west, we reduced how much we were paying attention, and we reduced how many services until it was too late. And we're like, oh, we probably shouldn't have reduced that much now that everything's on fire. I'm very worried that we're going to have sick people before we realize that we should have been monitoring the beach.
Well, Amy was saying that when there was the consultations with the health unit, everyone raved about the service level that they received for this, and this is the one that they're cutting.
It's until there's a problem in the water, there's no problem. But when we have hundreds of people in the water, like they said, it's just a moment in time. Yes, but if there's a moment in time where we have potentially hazardous things going on in our water, I understand the risk is low and if the frequency is low, but it's not zero.
How often were they testing? Do we know?
Once a week, I think. Is that right?
What would it cost to buy test equipment and do it ourselves?
You have to send the water to a lab to be or that's how it was historically. I'm not sure. I mean, you guys test water every day.
The only reason I say that is because we bought test equipment for the hatchery
Mhm.
and it was cheap. And you put it in, you push the button, it re-zeros everything. Put in your sample, put it in again, push the button, and it tells you what's inside.
I think the test is easy enough, but the liability, if we're taking on the testing, we're taking on the liability of saying that our testing is accurate and appropriate.
But I wonder if they'd still test for us if we collect.
Oh, if we collected it and sent it for their sampling.
They would still do it.
I mean, realistically, that's got to be an expensive venture for them to travel down.
Well, they don't. Remember that person you met last spring in Magnetawan? I think she's responsible for 5 to 10 lakes. Joanne? I think like they have people who they don't travel. I think they have people specific. They're only employed in the summer. Yeah. But I do wonder if you're right. If we collected the water and sent it somewhere.
They do have some virtual sessions coming up, so I wonder if we could ask that question.
Yeah.
Anyone want to volunteer to go to one of these sessions?
Sorry, Wendy, does Graham not test water?
He tests water for Pickerel Lake, but he only tests for E. coli and phosphorus.
So this is my concern. Are we no longer going to have E. coli tested in Doe Lake?
I would suspect that's probably the case because I
I'm
don't.
not sure what all they tested, what the health,
Yeah, I like to do a CC dish also. The device goes down.
Yeah.
And depending how far they can see it, it's a water quality thing.
Years and years ago, there was CE testing done on Pickerel Lake, but Pickerel Lake is so full of, I'll call them tannins. I'm not sure whether that's the right term or not. You can't
Tannins,
see,
yes.
you can't see down Pickerel.
That has to do with the leaves.
It's
Like a tannic acid.
yeah.
It's like the river.
It's tea water.
Yeah.
And so that hasn't been tested on Pickerel for a long time, but they were just doing E. coli and then we've added the phosphorus.
What about 3 Mile? Is 3 Mile public or
They do
privately?
Testing.
Yeah.
So at very least, we need to make our lake associations know.
They don't have an association anymore, right?
No.
Doe Lake?
Deer Lake, yeah, they haven't done it for years. Deer Lake doesn't, I don't think they do any testing either.
Now, does Graham drive the stuff up to North Bay?
No, he did through COVID and whatnot.
Right.
Now, if he orders kits, they're dropped off at Capstone. On
Okay.
Tuesday mornings, he picks them up there. He does samples and then gets them back. They have to be back there within 24 hours and they pick them up there. So as long as they're there, they stop in and if the samples are there, they're there.
And are they sent to the North Bay Health Unit?
No, they're tested at near North Labs in North Bay.
Yeah. And there's a cost to that.
There's a cost, yeah.
And your lake association covers that.
This township has a program, so we get the money through the township.
So if we have a volunteer, they could make money for the lake.
I just worry about, I just would not want to find out that we have people swimming in E. coli and potentially drinking it.
Yeah.
Not that they should be drinking it, but you know what I mean?
So is there someone from staff who could listen in on one of these 3 sessions? Maybe Amy would do it.
And can we propose putting in the budget, adding 3 Mile does it on their own, you said?
Yeah.
Can we look at maybe including, especially because we literally send our day camp kids into that water. Can we look at doing the same program as we do?
No reason why we can't.
See, we do it, Pickerel's tested three times a summer.
Okay.
At 5 different locations on the lake.
Okay. Could Graham potentially train our Doe Lake person?
Yeah, possibly.
You get recreation to do it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not difficult.
That's, yeah, like we just have to,
If she didn't have anybody train him, he phoned near North Labs
okay.
and he got a really informative person there that walked him through how to do it. So
Yeah, I think it would be, I mean, if it's something we're already funding for a lake and it's no longer being done by the ministry, maybe we need to be doing it for other lakes as well.
Now, my understanding is Near North Labs has very recently been sold. So I don't know whether that's going to affect the cost or town.
Well, I'll maybe have a chit chat with Amy and see if between her and I, one of us can jump on there and express those concerns. If they're willing to come down from a complaint process, I'm wondering if there's a mechanism that we can have samples sent in.
Yeah.
Even if we're not doing 3 times a year, if we send in 1 or 2 here or there.
Well, I mean, you would be able to just concentrate in the beach area, whereas Peckerell.
In the river.
trying to get a-
Trying to get a cross section.
Yeah, because we have the river coming in, the river going out, and then the 2 public beaches, and then he does one right in the middle of the lake as
I think
well.
the big question I've got written down is, what are the mechanisms if we are concerned about it, or if we've seen activity for a number of things? I mean, there's been blue-green algae in lakes nearby. So are there mechanisms that we can request testing or partner in that?
Okay.
And there's possibility the cottages over there, campground, for instance, might be interested.
Maybe Andrew.
The resort potentially.
Yeah.
I know they take care of the buoys, like they do a lot already, just
Yeah.
as good citizens.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Following up. Item 32, municipal election candidates, information session. April 16th. Vote and see who's running. Item 33, call for applications for the Omega Area Joint Compliance Audit Committee. That's related to the elections, Sean?
So that's a committee of 4 that is appointed by bylaw, and they receive $500 a year just for being on the committee. If they meet, if there's ever a meeting, they receive $100 for every meeting. And then mileage is paid out at the CRA rate. And between the 10 or 12 municipalities that are part of this compliance, basically the role is if a complaint comes in over a council member's spending, they basically just review your financial statement and determine if it's compliant or not. And I think in the last 8 years, there's been 1 request for a review. Or I think it might have been the village of Sunbridge. But there's a process to be followed.
Yeah. I guess we can't be on the committee though.
No, but if you know anyone that has an accounting background, or they don't even have to have an accounting background, but if you're interested in it, so far I've only received 2 applications.
do you know a lady that would fit that description?
Oh, I didn't even have to tackle her. Someone did, but it wasn't me.
Wonderful. I'm glad she's been tackled.
Okay, last but not least, public meeting notice for the Prentice application as 0124, so that's coming up on the 24th of March.
Yes, so your next council meeting starts at 6. I anticipate that it will be a large turnout. I have received quite a few submissions in opposition, so.
Can we arrange to meet at the KCC?
I believe the majority of people are coming in through Zoom. It's easier just to host it here, I think.
Yeah.
I have asked Planscape to participate as well, just in case there's any questions on the draft bylaw.
And the pushback is really around the deer wintering areas for the.
Yes, but your very first council meeting in January, you approved or supported the amendment to the condition. Number 3 for the Prentice subdivision, because M&R did provide comments basically stating that they do not comment on this sort of thing. They leave it up to the municipalities and the planning board to fulfill the requirements of the PPS and whatnot. But there is a deer wintering assessment on file from Riverstone Environmental.
At the study, yeah.
Yes, and I recall Bob Miller stating that Riverstone is one of the few environmental organizations that can actually assess wetlands in Ontario, so they're very credible in their reports.
Is there so when you look at our maps, that area is not showing as a deer wintering area. Does that Does that back us up at all when we have these discussions? 'Cause
So it's not showing as confirmed, but it's showing in the
it's
stratums.
in the stratums, but it's not confirmed deer wintering.
So there's, based on my understanding, and I could be wrong on this, like, because I haven't looked at it in a while, but there's a difference between where they go to eat and where they go to feed, right? So,
And in some of the public
Is that,
meetings,
or sorry,
where they go to eat and where they go to sleep, sorry.
I thought you,
Sorry. Sorry, I
Sorry,
got
is
the-
it different? I thought I was like,
My apology.
but a lot of the people, when they were in discussion, they were feeding deer, so that brings deer into an area
Yeah,
that they would not normally feed.
Yeah.
And myself being a hunter, that's not a good thing.
do we have bylaws against feeding deer, do we not?
We didn't,
better hope not.
Sorry?
we didn't do that because it's not really necessary at this time. They get hit by a car, then people got food.
Who wants bumper meat?
Lots of people.
Yeah, so I just mean, if deer getting smashed by a car is, what do they get?
Look at the standards for our lots on lakefronts compared to where they were in the 50s, 60s and 70s. Like,
So the requirement with the OMB decision in 95 was that it was to have 120 meter frontage.
Yes, I think that's the hang up. We've reduced what we'll allow for frontage.
And we wanted it to be 120 originally meter frontage based on that OMB hearing. But they produced a deer wintering study to confirm that the deer aren't there, so to speak. And MNRF commented, and that's when you allowed in your recommendation or supporting resolution to reduce the frontage to 61 meters.
And the deer and the moose, when they winter in an area, they're into eating the tag alders or the small maples. They browse on that.
Yeah, you can.
Now, once that browse is gone, they go somewhere else. So you could have a deer yard per se with a bunch of deer in this year. 6 years from now, they're not there anymore.
Yeah, they would.
There's nothing to eat. There's nothing to eat. They're not there.
As long as there's somewhere else for them to go to eat.
They just don't roll over and die. They go somewhere.
They migratory wherever the food is.
Yeah.
But I think that
And then it changes. One thing that is, you can always say there is near the hemlocks, but they, like, depending on the snow conditions, they change drastically as soon as the snow's too deep. They don't friggin' travel anywhere, right? Like, the net was the most we had at our yard was 7, but as soon as the snow got over to your knee, they quit coming to our place.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't worth them to wherever they were coming from. It wasn't worth them coming.
They all came to our place, I think.
Well, I've had 3 and 4 in my place in my little bush outside the bedroom window. I don't feed them,
No.
but there's lots of tag alders and little maple trees and poplar trees and whatnot. And they're out there before I came here browsing,
Yeah.
you know?
they're waiting for a garden to be planted, sorry.
I just asked when I send out that agenda package for this public meeting that you guys find the time to review it ahead of time, well in advance, just so you're aware of the draft zoning bylaw. There's multiple exceptions detailed in it, as well as a requirement for the merging of the lot, so to prevent any backlot development moving forward. But I think it's the deer is the main.
That's what they're, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important. I'll include the deer assessment as
Go
well.
to the middle of Zonkin Park, you won't see a deer. Ironic, isn't it?
Wow.
That's because you got moose. The moose eat all the feed, the deer can't reach it. So the deer have come out to urban areas because people have
They can get.
built houses. And you've got your lower bush.
Yeah.
Okay. So
This
it's the
might be
24th.
Yes.
All right, Council Township of Armour adjourns this regular council meeting at 9:00. Till the next regular council meeting scheduled for March 24th, 2026, we're at the call of the mayor or the clerk. And Uber, Dorothy. All in favor of leaving? We're done.